Today's video was brought to you by Crunchyroll, an anime streaming platform with a huge library of titles, from classics to new favorites. You can learn more about the service at the end of this video. Hey Nintendo fans, I can't believe it, but it's that time of year again. The end of the year. I've been running lists for my favorite Nintendo games for 2 years running now, so I figured it's time to go for the three-peat and complete the list once again. It was a slower year for Nintendo, but not without a handful of great gaming gems on the 3DS and Wii U. Two of the Wii U's most anticipated titles, the new Star Fox and the new Zelda, were both pushed back to 2016. On top of this, because I make each year's list based on North American game releases, there's a few other great titles that I won't be able to explore yet until next year. To close things out, I decided to keep going with the two rules that we went with last year. No remakes of games on the list, even though there were some amazing 3DS remakes in particular this year, and no games that launched on other platforms. Just like the incredible Shovel Knight wasn't listed last year, this year's Freedom Planet is another excellent indie game that you can get on the Wii U as well as the PC right now. But with the ground rules out of the way, let's get to the list. My top 10 personal favorite Nintendo games of 2015.
Number 10.
Fast Racing Neo. When I first heard of Fast Racing Neo through a Nintendo Direct, my thoughts instantly went to where most longtime Nintendo fans did, recalling that cold, empty spot in your heart in the shape of an insanely fast, futuristic vehicle racer and a cast of ridiculous over-the-top characters named F-Zero. While I'm bummed that it doesn't look like F-Zero is coming to Nintendo again anytime soon, I figured I'd shell out $15 on this eShop title to see where it took me. And I've gotta say, this might be one of the best values on the eShop right now. While the comparisons to F-Zero are easy to make, it actually feels a bit more like a similar racer to me, Wipeout. It's also apparently a sequel to a WiiWare title that came late in the Wii's lifespan that I had never heard of, called Fast Racing League. Controls are floatier, especially on some of the heaviest machines, and this is a game that really demands perfection out of you, both in navigating the tracks while simultaneously juggling the game's orbs and phase system, where matching your car's color the appropriate pads and strips gives you a huge boost. This game offers 16 gorgeous tracks, and while the graphical quality in terms of pixels is actually pretty low here, once the blur, lighting, and set pieces hit you at 1,000 miles per hour, it still ends up being a sight to behold. The sound design and cheesy announcer made me distinctly recall the arcade-style racers in my childhood. Fast Racing Neo is immensely difficult as you rise to the game's final cups, and the AI definitely rubber bands against you much harder than it gives you any relief if you fall behind. It's so difficult that even the game's easiest modes might turn the casual racing fan away. It's not uncommon to whiff multiple turns and grind against the walls throughout the tracks, or go sailing off the course when there aren't any walls to save you. It's a breathtaking racer that forces you to learn a game's system and push yourself to the absolute limits. A great challenge at a price much lower than most of today's picks.
Number 9.
Triforce Heroes. What happens if you take the classic top-down Zelda controls and combine them with Monster Hunter? Probably something close to Triforce Heroes, a spiritual successor to the cooperative Four Swords titles with a focus on multiplayer play. Both the dozens of adorable costumes and the 3-player stacking mechanic opened up some clever puzzle-based gameplay that simultaneously enhanced and destroyed my friendships. While the game does offer you the ability to use various adorable Link emotes for communication, the game is definitely played best either in person or with a voice client like Skype online. Without either of these tools, playing with complete strangers can be a bit frustrating if you can't fully communicate a puzzle solution. While the game does have a single-player mode, having to essentially control all 3 characters at once is a bit of a drag. That said, if you do have at least 2 other friends able to play with voice, this game is a multiplayer treat. There's tons of alternate missions, costume medals, and even new DLC to explore. It's not quite the deeply satisfying experience that Zelda fans have come to know and love through the main series adventures, but it's a crazy and hilarious take on the Zelda puzzle-solving formula that's well worth your time.
Number 8.
Yokai Watch. You've heard it a million times. Is Yokai Watch the new Pokemon? Look how Yokai is taking over Pokemon in Japan. But after a huge 2-year gap in localization and finally getting to play Yokai for myself in English, I came to 2 conclusions. 1, it doesn't really feel a ton like Pokemon at all, and 2, I can definitely understand why this game is so hyped in Japan. It's a huge handheld RPG with a large, colorful world full of great anime-inspired creatures and visuals, and a unique combat system that makes things feel like less of a grind. Yes, it's still a creature collection game, but with its fusions and heavy influence on Japanese culture, it actually felt more to me like a Shin Megami Tensei title than Pokémon. Recruitment of new yokai even plays out like a simplified SMT, where you have a much greater chance of capture if you appropriately bribe the spirits. Combat is done actively instead of turn-based, and I found the live character swapping and special attacks to be a fun mix-up to traditional RPG combat. While ultimately the game is a little simple, it's yet another level 5 title that oozes charm from every corner. The huge difference I found separating a game like this and Pokémon is the lack of major multiplayer features. If you like assembling Pokémon to trade and battle with your friends, you might find that the single-player heavy yokai is a little less connected for your tastes. But if you're hungry for a huge almanac of creatures to collect and dozens of side quests to complete, Yokai Watch is a great time sink that saved me over several long flights this year.
Number 7.
Steam World Heist. I know I had the rule of no games that launched on platforms outside of Nintendo, and while Steam World Heist will eventually launch on all kinds of platforms, it, just like the excellent Steam World Dig, is a 3DS launch exclusive for the time being. I'm a huge fan of strategy games, and I always thought that it would be the 3DS's codename Steam that would blow me away this year. In the end, Steam fell a little short of my lofty steampunk meets Valkyria Chronicles expectations, but it turns out that a different steampunk strategy title would fill the void. SteamWorld Heist takes the charming robot-infested world of SteamWorld Dig and somehow nails the unexpected transition from platformer to turn-based strategy. The core mechanic is built around assembling a Firefly-style crew, confronting randomly generated enemy ships, and taking over for maximum loot and adventure. The gameplay is tight, and you have a real sense of control whenever aiming up for a shot, even nailing stylish trick ricochet shots that feel amazing to accomplish. It's strategy done right. It never feels unfair, but it still challenges you to learn the best aspects of the system, your partners, your abilities, and dozens of collectible hats. It's an addicting title that surprised me at the end of this year, and while I did fight through the main adventure in just 2 long play sessions, this is still an incredible title, well worth exploring for its extremely reasonable eShop price of $17.
Number 6.
Yoshi's Woolly World. This is my personal pick for the best looking game on the Wii U this year. Just look at it. It's so cute it makes me feel weak. You can see each little yarn creation down to individual threads and even frays, and the game constantly sticks to this theme, from unraveling secret areas to crochet hooks. Combined with the addicting upbeat soundtrack, it's one of the best games ever to simply kick back and relax to. Yoshi's Woolly World is the closest the Green Dino has come to the original in my opinion, with smart level design and lots of replayability. Woolly World does still hinge on an easier difficulty for a good portion of the game, but the true challenge is always uncovering all of the collectibles, which becomes an absolute necessity when you learn that collecting all the wool unlocks a new Yoshi for every single level. Oh my god, they're beautiful! If you just want to feel better about life, then this game is the perfect stress relief. Unless you play co-op. Then it gets a little crazy.
Number 5.
Pokémon Super Mystery Dungeon. The Pokémon Mystery Dungeon series is one of my absolute favorite spin-offs from the original Pokémon titles, offering a mixed bag of challenging grid-based strategy and somehow, at both times, childish and serious storytelling. The last 3DS entry to the series, Gates to Infinity, was a pretty but ultimately simplified version of what Mystery Dungeon veterans have come to know and love, and Super Mystery Dungeon does a lot to throw back to the classics while also feeling fresh. Back are a lot of features that I've missed, like the personality quiz and balancing hunger in every dungeon. The new Alliance attacks push a risk-reward to your hunger even further, the new Emerald items make already randomized dungeons feel even more unique with each run-through, and the huge branching quest system with the connection orb is a great way to meet up with the game's promise of showing you all 720 Pokémon. The story is a little goofy and slow-moving, and I think fans who still hold to that gold standard of Explorers of Darkness, Time, and Sky might feel a little disappointed in this regard. But there are still tons of characters that return from the previous games, and it's nice to see some familiar faces. If you're looking for a huge randomized RPG adventure with nearly infinite content and an adorable Pokémon skin, Super Mystery Dungeon will definitely deliver.
Number 4.
Xenoblade Chronicles X. The Wii U's final major release of 2015 was quite possibly their biggest, in terms of scope and gameplay hours anyway. Monolith's colossal sci-fi world of Mira instantly drew me in. The sights, sounds, and colors of Xenoblade Chronicles X, from from the creatures to the landscapes, are breathtaking. While it does share the name and combat system of Xenoblade Chronicles on the Wii and 3DS, there's a ton of changes here. Some good, and some not so good. Overall, I feel like the game world and quest system in X is much stronger, making it a lot easier to sort, accept, and track down various quests while offering a lot more quests of actual substance. While it takes a good 20 to 30 hours to even pilot your first mech-like skills, it truly is a game changer to trample the landscapes in a humongous mechanical monstrosity. This is the moving mecha anime game that you've always dreamed of. Like many JRPGs, X is a complicated one, full of menus, active abilities, sub-abilities, gear, classes, subclasses, work organizations, weaponry, tactics of companion building, and a fully fledged grid-based mining economy simulator on the Wii U gamepad screen. It is unreal how much there is to master in this game, and if that's the kind of thing that you like, X offers it in spades. My only complaint with this game is similar to the last game on this list. While there is a huge focus on exclusive side missions for each of your many discoverable companions, both human and alien, I found the game's main plot to be a little light for my tastes. Despite the December release date, I'm already approaching 100 hours into this one, and it's still a title I feel I'll come back to in the coming years, whenever I want to escape into a brilliant science fiction world of my own.
Number 3.
Monster Hunter 4U. There isn't much I can say about 4U that hasn't been said before. It's the same combat the series has delivered. Slow, deliberate, and challenging to master, wrapped into its best package of customization and beast slaying yet. The new weapons, combined with the dynamic mounting system, makes the game feel faster than ever before, while still throwing up brutal beasts that make you want to snap your 3DS in half. This is a game that demands multiplayer gameplay, and going off on long hunts with a diverse group of 3 strangers is a thrill that I just haven't shared with many other games out there. The learning curve is extraordinarily high, and the sheer amount of math that goes into calculating optimal sets, weapons, and monster damage is crazy, but thankfully this era of Monster Hunter seems to have more online resources and tutorials than ever before if you want to get started. I still despise grinding the same monster over and over again, 15-minute fights at a time, finding a 5% or less chance item that you really need to make that one armor set, but that's a series staple of the Monster Hunter games, and you kinda just have to live with it. Whether you've decided to use one class for life or become a master of all trades, there's enough combat, armor, upgrades, and DLC to satisfy for ages.
Number 2.
Super Mario Maker. This is a weird game to rate or review because the question often comes up, is Super Mario Maker a game, or is it just a level editor? There isn't any coherent story or design or major objectives. In really simple terms, you can either make some Mario levels or play some levels that other people made. That's your game. And I have something to admit. Despite it being a major part of the game, I've actually never created and submitted my own level in Mario Maker to this day. It seems like there's a solid foundation of tools to work with, and heck, they've even added a few more over time with DLC. Building using the gamepad looks like a perfect fit. But I don't know, I guess I've done so much studying of level design over my life that when it comes time to build my own level, I feel too intimidated to actually do it. So what's going on here? How can Mario Maker be my number 2, despite not making any Marios? Infinite 2D Mario over 4 different games. I just can't get enough of it. This game gives me the ability to absorb more Mario than ever before, especially through the 100 Mario challenge modes. Now, to be fair, infinite Mario does not always mean infinite, engaging, and well-made Mario. There's a lot of garbage in here, whether that be levels that are simply unfair, or levels that just, well, aren't good. However, either by looking online, using the new level sorting website, or just digging through 100-man challenges, there is still an absolutely astounding amount of great content here. It isn't really a game that takes risks, breaks ground, or changes the way that I look at video games. But there's just something magical about always being able to turn on Mario Maker and seeing something new. I just can't stop playing it.
Number 1.
Splatoon. Splatoon is so dang fun. It's a lot more than that, but at its core, it's the most entertainment I've had with a video game this year. A constant phrase you'll hear throughout the game are the lead hostesses yelling, "Stay fresh." And honestly, that's a pretty good theme for this game. Despite playing it month to month for over half a year, it's still managed to stay fresh after all this time. Splatoon's paint-based gameplay, combined with a sleek mechanic for movement options, really just clicked for me. Each character class that you can create has a distinct feel that other shooters haven't given me in a long while. Splatoon also has some of my favorite character and world design in ages. There's this bizarre juxtaposition with high fashion combined with gameplay all about making a huge mess that I just dig. Character dialogue is funny and snappy, and the pumping soundtrack full of gibberish language helps the land of Inkopolis feel like a new, welcoming place to stay. Splatoon's number one problem when it first launched was that despite a fun, platforming-heavy campaign and engaging multiplayer, it felt a little bare bones when it came to depth. Whether it was intentionally, or Nintendo struggling to make a release date, they instead released the game light on content and trickled out free DLC over time. Regardless of what the reason was, it has been thrilling to see Splatoon grow into something huge over just half a year. When it launched, there were just 5 playable maps, but now there's 15. There were around 30 weapon sets, and now it's closer to 75. There are now 2 more playable ranked battle modes, and the day-long 2-army Splatfest parties. They also finally got private rooms and private squads up as well. Over the months, my only real complaint about Splatoon slowly disappeared. It'll be a little bittersweet as the game's final free DLC package drops in January, but honestly, there isn't much more I could ask for in a shooter. It's smart, it's satisfying to play both casually and competitively, and I can't think of a better game that I experienced from Nintendo this year. I still can't believe that 2015 has come and gone, but as usual, it's been a blast playing through the varied console and handheld games that Nintendo has had to offer. I'm pretty excited for those big delayed titles that are coming in 2016, as well as the mysterious NX. Just what will that thing be? Only time will tell, but I can't wait for that time next year. Today I want to give a shout out to Crunchyroll, who are helping us out big time by supporting the show. Crunchyroll is an amazing service for dramas, manga, and of course, streaming anime ad-free in 1080p. They have an incredible library of shows that update with subtitles on the same day that they release in Japan, including long-running classics like One Piece, new hits like Mobile Suit Gundam, Iron-Blooded Orphans, and they even have the first segment of Digimon Adventure Tri, set 6 years after the original season. Oh man, everybody's so old now. If you use our code at crunchyroll.com/jwits, you can get a month of premium Crunchyroll completely free. They even have a Wii U app, so you can stream shows directly to your TV or even the gamepad on the side. I've been using Crunchyroll since the pre-Wii U days in early 2014, and it's been awesome working with a group that I enjoy so much personally. The link for the free trial is also in the description, so you can click there to check out your free month if you're interested. As always, thank you for supporting this channel over the year, and I'll see you guys in 2016 with more Nintendo content.